Hello again, welcome back to the Irish Kop show on Anfield FM. We've got again with us today myself, Ger Kane, Paul Larkin, Damon O'Leary again, and we've got Shay Kearns and Darren McGrath. We've loads to talk to you about now today. We're going to talk a bit about Palace, Newcastle, different aspects of the team, our weakness defending set pieces. We're going to talk about a couple of off-field issues and a bit about Alex Ferguson's book and his comments on Liverpool managers, ex-Liverpool managers, players, etc. And just a general review of the season, where we are and where we're going. Right, first, last time we talked was the morning of Palace. Lots of positives came out of the game, like 3 points top of the league, and we started off the game very well. There's a couple of negative things about it as well. We again, no goals scored in the first half. In the second half, we conceded a goal from set pieces again, but there's plenty to be positive about, Paul.
Yeah, it's another game, another 3 points. There's definitely something to worry about the second half performances again. I don't know what to say about the second half performances if they just took the foot off the gas this time, because they were well out in front. But I was looking at a few stats there, and last year before this game we were right up the top of the possession and the shots stats, and we were a lot lower down the league. And this year we're a lot lower down the shots and the possession stats, and we're higher up in the league. So I don't know what that says about the team. It's just a bit more cutting edge. But getting back to the Palace game, it's very, very frustrating that the second half performance cost us being top of the league over the international break. But all in all, Palace offered nothing. But it's very frustrating about the second half, the way they essentially won the second half. I don't know how much we can take away from that. That was our lads taking the foot off the ball, or was a Palace up in the ante. But it's really something to worry about. So.
It's noticeable though, isn't it? It's a team that it's a recording team through the season, like the second half drop off, and it's worrying.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point that Paul makes with the stats. That last season we had higher possession stats, and this season, we've got a strike force like we haven't seen in many years. We're always going to score goals. In every game we look like we're going to score goals. But we can see set pieces are a huge weakness. We really need to address that, and the sooner the better. Because we just seem to concede a goal. Once a set piece is there, we're vulnerable. We look like we're going to concede. So I don't know if that's how we're set up, or if it's because we're changing the system at the back. We've got three at the back. I'm not too sure, but we definitely need to address it.
I don't know. Is it a case that we're not working on it enough for the training ground? Is it? I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. Is it just the individual?
Obviously, we don't know the training ground, what goes on there. But I mean, you'd have to be very, very surprised if coaching staff aren't working on something like that. I mean, Bryman and his dog can see there's something not working there. So it's definitely something they've got to be working on. Again, whether it's down to changing systems, changing personnel, new signings coming in, but I don't know, sometimes it's just a lack of aggression going, and as simple as winning a header. I mean, we've got 3-4 at times 4 centre halves playing big lads, and it just seems like they can't go in an aerial challenge in their own 18-yard box. And probably not as simple as that, but sometimes it comes down to go and win your header, deal with the second ball then. And you can talk about systems all day long, but if your centre half isn't going and winning a header, taking headers, you're going to be in trouble on set pieces and deliveries. But it has to be something they are working on. I'm sure they are working on. I guess between now and Christmas we just want to see improvements in that area. And then maybe you can look back and say, well, it was down to a new system or new personnel, but it's definitely something we need to see an improvement on.
It's a big month for us, this one too, so we really need to address it like ASAP. We've got two difficult games this season in the league.
I won't dwell too much now on Palace. It was 2 weeks ago now. We'll just move on quickly now to Newcastle. It was definitely a case for me that 2 points dropped. Before the game I maybe would have taken a point, because they did seem to be coming into a bit of form. But the way the game panned out, a man sent off after 40 minutes. We got back to 1-1 just before half time. They expected us to kick on, and again we conceded a sloppy goal from a set piece and clawed our way back into it, but we never really looked like we were going to win the game.
I think people don't realise that Newcastle played well. I've been watching Newcastle a lot, obviously, but to me, it seemed like their performance this season. They held on, they held out for a draw. I know all playing with 10 men. I suppose you could say our system won attacking, but I mean, I'm not happy to blame the manager. I think we done well. Just the opportunities didn't go in. If Swallows' volley had gone in, that was the end of it. We'd be talking 3-2. No one be even discussing this Newcastle. If anything, it's the ball for the young Welsh lad to score. Was he Welsh? Dumbleby or whatever his name is. Yeah, the Welsh lad. The ball for him to score the goal. I mean, that's an individual mistake, or two people making individual mistakes. But like Dad said, get the defence sorted. Well, if we're 10 games in, that'll work itself out through the season.
Yeah, it's very strange. 11 versus 11, we seem completely outmatched. The midfield they seem to be finding a lot of space. This is very worrying. A lot of space in just in front of our defence. But it's a point gained. We luckily came away with the point. But as I said, 11 versus 11 was very worrying. But there's a lot of people blaming Rodgers, and he certainly made a few mistakes. But there comes a time when you're playing against 10 men that the players have to man up and go for it. Like, you know, it doesn't matter about tactics and stuff like that. At that stage, when you've won over, you've won over. It's very surprising that we only came away with the 1 point, but we were lucky to in the end.
Yeah, for me, I thought we should have, when Newcastle went down to 10 men, we should have changed the system. You know, they started off the game without a recognised front man, and when they went down to 10 men, they basically just started in 4-4, one up front, try and nick a goal from a set piece, which he did. But we kept going with the three centre backs. Like, it should have been changed earlier.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. We should have took a centre half off and put an extra midfielder in there, packed the midfield and pushed us forward. You know, like I say, we're blessed to have the strike force that we have. You know, we probably have the best strike force in the country, so we're going to score goals. So it's those type of changes make a big difference to us when it comes to tactics in the game, and we suffered for it in Newcastle. I'm not having a go with the manager. You know, I think he's doing a great job, but certainly in that game he should have changed it sooner, maybe 20 minutes sooner, and I think it probably may have made a big difference. But we're scoring goals every game. We're scoring goals. We just need to address the issues where we're leaking. We're leaking goals from set pieces. Like Darren says, we're hesitating at the back. We need to address that. And tactically, we need to make changes quicker. We need to be a bit more, a bit more cutthroat when we see opportunities like that to jump on top of it and make the change.
Yeah, well, that's partially the thing on the substitutions with being cutthroat or aggressive, whatever you want to call it. I think when I was at 2-1. Sterling was about to come on, and just as we got the goal, then he sat back down. I was told to sit back down a few minutes. Whereas maybe at 2-2, like, you really think that they're really there for the taking now. They're probably already set to panic a bit of themselves. Think, can we hold on? Can we not hold on? Probably should have went for a bit more at that stage rather than holding off the substitution again. Did create enough chances to win the game again. Daniel Sturridge had a particularly good chance, but some chances are going to be missed, and we probably didn't create enough open chances to justify that we fully deserved the 3 points. And at times Newcastle probably even on the break looked like they could have got something. So I think both teams probably a point was deserved. It was all we deserved.
Yeah, no, my point on it was we had a problem there with Moses and where he's playing. Like, it's probably a bit unfair on Moses. It's not his position, like that number 10 position. And when he went wider, then when Alberto came on, the whole team looked a lot better. Alberto was getting the ball, he was laying it off, he was finding little pockets of space, and we looked like then that we were going to be a bit more creative.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Moses is lost in that position. Well, at the moment he's lost. He's been asked to do something he's not used to. I think, it's obvious we miss Coutinho, and that's the preferred setup. But yeah, no, we suffered a bit with Moses there for sure for a spell. But again, like that's the top half of the pitch. We don't really have any issues. The top half, we're scoring goals. Okay, we can have kind of a bit of a moan about Moses not doing the job the way he should be doing it in that position, because we can compare him to Coutinho, and we all know what he brings to the table when he's back. But yeah, no, it's kind of the other half.
But Lucas has made much of a difference.
Lucas.
Yeah, well,
that probably leads us on to the next point I had here on my list, which was the midfield. No, because for me, the midfield has been a big worry for us this season and last season as well. And we're coming up now in the next week when Coutinho is back, where we have them 3 positions, the 2 central midfielders and the 1 ahead in the 10. We've got 6 players to fill them 3 positions. You've got Gerrard, Henderson, Lucas, you've got Coutinho, Alberto and Allen. And it's going to be interesting to see now what the manager does. You'll imagine he's not going to take Steven Gerrard out of the team, nor do I think he should. And you'd imagine that Coutinho will slip back in, but it's something that needs addressing fairly quick.
I don't know what formation he's going to play. I'd play Gerrard. I think Joe Allen, I don't know whether you call him a vanity boy or the Welsh Javi, wasn't it? I don't know if he's up to the standard or whether his confidence has gone to boy. I mean, Christ, when he was on telly, he spoke like a mouse. Whether he can boss games at Liverpool or whether he's intimidated by playing with the club, I don't know. I think Coutinho comes back, Sturridge, Suarez, Gerrard, and I'd put in Henderson myself personally. Bad gas and all. Gas, is it gas? What would you say? Gas, is it?
What Ferguson said?
Yeah.
Gas, the way you need.
Bad gas and all.
But I think there's a case there now for maybe moving Gerrard out of that central position and getting him up somewhere up the top end of the pitch. Now, how Brendan decides to do that, I don't know. He's a better judge of it than me. But in that area, I don't think he gives us enough energy there now anymore.
He's probably not quite got the box-to-box legs he might have thought he had a few years ago, and probably Henderson in there will give you more of that box-to-box stuff. But an interesting stat that I hadn't realised myself I was seeing during the week, as relatively average, if I want to go word, that Gerrard's been this season, he's got the most chances created in the entire league.
He's still our best player.
Which is, I was surprised at that stat. Like, it didn't something that didn't stand out in my head.
Especially given he's playing so far back in the pitch.
Yeah, so I mean, even we're talking about that he should be pushed further forward, and yet where he is, he is still creating chances for others. And again, last week I think it was his ball for Sturridge for that chance that could have won us the game. Where exactly he's going to fit in, if we assume Coutinho's going to sit in behind the other 2, I'm not too sure what way he's going to play it, but it's certainly having 2 defensive midfielders, particularly at home against so-called lesser teams, we probably need to look at that. There's probably no need for it, especially the strike force we have that's been mentioned, or the forward players we have. You need to take the game to the other team, and at times be less concerned about having 2 men in front of your back 4. Might be needed sometimes. You got your full-backs pushing on so much with Johnson back now and stuff, but we can certainly take more forward-thinking games, forward-thinking planning into games, and I'm sure Brendan has something in his head of what way he's going to work with Gerrard, but it'll be interesting to see when Coutinho does come back where he goes with it.
Yeah, I think in this system of 3 at the back, I don't think there's a need for 2 lads to sit in front of that 3 or a 5 as it does be sometimes. There's definitely for me a lack of midfield dynamism, if you want to call it that. If you go back to the heyday under Rafa, you look at the midfield 3 there, you'd Mascherano who'd just break everything up, win the ball, Alonso would get it, one of the best passes of the ball in the world, and Gerrard up the top end of the pitch, he just destroy teams on his own. For me, there's a definite lack of balance in our midfield. Like Gerrard and Lucas, when they do play together, they just sit.
Yeah, I think usually with that it is a 3-5-1, right? But because we've got 2 strong strikers, we put 2 up front. But just to go back to Joe Allen there, like that's kind of an interesting, question. Like, where does he fit in, if anywhere? And the manager did say that if he was, that his best position was kind of further up the pitch, and maybe the Moses role could be addressed by, if he's going to have an opportunity to try Allen and to try him now. I'm not going to say he's any good, but let's see what he's like. Put him in there. If he's not any good, why do we pay 16 million for him? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of weeks with that.
The manager's definitely got a couple of decisions to make. I just want to talk about a couple of off-field things that happened this week. Over the last 2 weeks, there was an appeal by the IPCC to. They basically wanted people to come forward that were at Hillsborough to help with the investigation, and the club were approached about putting leaflets on every seat to try and maybe get people that haven't maybe seen it on the internet, and the hope was that if it at least reaches one person, then it's been a success. But the club, in their wisdom, and Ian Eyre in his wisdom, decided that it wasn't the most effective way to do it, which was what his words. And then we did an intervention then from John W. Henry during the week, where he basically just saw sense and said, "Yeah, go, let the lads leaf it, and let's see what comes from it." Now it says when there's a big event, the club have no problem putting up a mosaic. You think of the Truth, the Justice Day, that time that when we played Man United at home last year, and the three sides of the ground are mosaiced. And yeah, just say to yourself, like, why can Ian Eyre not see common sense in the first place and just do it?
I mean, if you sit down and think about this, it will drive you absolutely crazy. But I mean, the question is, who is sitting around making these decisions? Is Ian Eyre sitting in an office on his own and decides, no, this is a no-go? Or, is there a group of people around him? I mean, the communications officer that came in, Susan Brown, and starting out, came in last year and after Jen Chang left. I mean, this whole thing shouldn't be anything to do with PR, but that's her role. Is she not sitting there going, for starters, if we say no to this, Ian, this is a PR disaster waiting to happen for us? Like, obviously, it should be a non-run. Like you shouldn't even need to think about this. You know what I mean? If we need a leaflet drop for this IPCC thing, yeah, go ahead straight away. But if Ian Eyre is even thinking no, there should be someone there to say, Ian, look, I think all of this is going to, backfire in a club. It's going to look. It's going to look
PR or communications. They have to red flag that to him to say, look, if we say no to this, there's going to be a backlash of some sort, and he has to make the ultimate decision. And if he is making the ultimate decision, like this should be no skin off the club's nose. It should be like a no-brainer. Look, let's just do it. Like, if it's in the interest of the club and our supporters and the families, more importantly the families, then let's do it to support them. Let's do it to help them.
But that like, surely Susan Brown. I mean, when she got appointed, the club were fast enough to release things on her CV, and she's been PR head of this and communications officer here there. And she has to be involved there in that, and not just her. I mean, there has to be other people there who make the decision. I mean, when it comes down to that John Henry has to get involved and overrule everybody. Something seriously wrong there, and about himself and Tom Werner have to be looking at that and thinking, like, this should be a no. We shouldn't even need to give go ahead for things like that.
Yeah, it is. The whole point of it is, even if this leaflet drops, gets one more person to come forward, then it's a success then, isn't it?
It is, and it's common sense. I don't know what the PR thing. I don't know whether it means PR for the club is PR for the club in China or Singapore, or whether public relations means public relations just outside the gate. Sometimes people in authority think they have to make decisions rather than do the common sense thing. It was a common sense thing. For some reason, Ian Eyre has the SOS in his sights, and it seems anything that comes from a fans group or from the charities, from the support groups or Hillsborough, needs to be thought about. So whether it should, whereas it should be accepted straight away, face value.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there. I think it's a new thing with the supporters committee. You don't mean to knock them, but basically I see it as a barrier put up between the club and the fans. I mean, I think most match-going fans would agree that Spirit Shankly are the proper voice of match-going fans, and this just seems to be another layer put up so the club can refuse it, like run everything through the supporters committee. I mean, the supporters committee is going now 2.5-3 years or something, isn't it? And I don't know, you don't hear anything about them. The only thing you hear about them is when there's new elections coming up, and I read a few of the profiles there when the recent election was coming up. I don't need to knock it, but like, some of the stuff was cringy stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's just like I know the international one and all that. It's just strange. And I had great hope for that supporters committee when it started, because I think off the top of my head, I think 3 members of the supporters committee were SOS members, and then obviously you had the patron of the SOS as the chair.
Yeah, and it sort of leads me on to my next point that the club, I think when it suits them, will embrace SOS. You go back to the times when the takeover, the dying days of Hicks and Gillette, and SOS are heavily involved in the product. Like, they were the driving force getting them 2 knackers out of the club, basically, for want of a better word. And now we had a situation as well where Newcastle came up with this fantastic idea of a reciprocal ticket arrangement where they were selling tickets to fans, to visiting fans, for £20 on the condition that when Newcastle fans visit other grounds, that their fans will be sold ticket for £20. So SOS basically approached the club about it, asked them were they going to take part, and Ian Eyre replied, and he basically turned around and said, look, this is an issue that you're going to have to deal with. It's going to have to go through the supporters committee, and it's mind-boggling. Like, you know, it just makes so much sense. And again, it's Ian Eyre, isn't it, Shay?
Yeah. Like, he's made mistake after mistake after mistake on a PR front. You know, like how he's kind of given, you know, or not at least given support in those decisions, or for someone to come in and kind of give him a bit of hindsight or give him a bit of depth into his decisions. Because right now, everything that comes out from him is a disaster. You know, from a PR front. Yeah,
he is. I think I spoke about him before. And the man for me doesn't show any proper leadership in the true sense of the word, and I'd have him replaced. ASAP. That's twice now in the last couple of months that John Henry has intervened in club matters where he probably shouldn't have to. If Ian Eyre was showing the proper leadership. So, sticking with a bit more off-field stuff, we had Alex Ferguson release his book this week, and it's probably confirmed what a lot of us would say about the man over the years, and that he's a fantastic manager, but as a man, he's a horrible bastard, to be honest with you. He a huge issue in Man United's history was the time when they were sold to the Glazers. A lot of that was rooted in the fact that Alex Ferguson had a row with JP McManus and Magnier, and he talked about that in his book, and he talked about it for 93 words, and there was a whole chapter devoted to Liverpool, and none of it was very complimentary.
Yeah, he's wrong. I mean, basically, you can't say any more than that. He's a bitter old bastard. There's a story goes back relating to the Irish, which is common knowledge. To check it up. But I'm looking for money off the Leukemia Association Dublin when he came over in 2000, 2001. He's not a socialist. I think John Snow showed him up. He's bitter. He's he's a horrible bastard. He's destroyed his legacy, basically. Nothing to do with us. In terms of him being a great manager, when he came in, the Premier League was in a time of transition, I suppose. There's no point saying Liverpool were in transition, Nottingham Forest were going down, Leeds, who'd won the league prior to the changeover, were going down or battling against relegation. If you remember when Shankly was there, Arsenal had won the double, Manchester United were the European Cup winning team who were soon to go down, Nottingham Forest were about to win the European Cup, Derby County and Leeds United came close as well. So, I mean, comparisons with the Shankly era, comparisons with any era are different. I mean, when Ferguson took over the Premier League in the 1990s was the WWF, I would give him credit for the 2009 going forward when he was steering a sinking ship, basically, going forward. Maybe he had undue influence with referees and linesmen, but they'll all come out. I mean, there's fun days to come because a lot of skeletons going to come out of the closet.
Yeah, but for me, he made it personal as well with his comments about Jordan Henderson and Rafa Benitez, and there was probably no need for it.
Well, there shouldn't really be a need for it, but I know this week I wouldn't even thought twice about that book or saying anything except obviously there is so much in relation to Liverpool in it. But during the week, I talked to a lot of people, some people getting angry, and some people I actually enjoyed this week. Anything I read excerpts on that book on Twitter or on the internet, it just kind of, I found it funny to be honest. He's made the whole thing very tabloidy, for want of a better word. I mean, he's bringing up silly things about Jordan Henderson. He's got no need to bring Jordan Henderson into anything. Fair enough, he's probably had to come across Gerrard at a few stages and gripes, and Gerrard's been there a long time, but he's just making himself out obviously very bitter, bringing things up about a young lad like Jordan Henderson and saying he's going to struggle in his future career. And I found it very funny most of this week reading bits out. He's obviously, I wouldn't say he's destroyed his legacy, but he's certainly burned a few bridges there between ex-players, and I'm sure even a lot of fans are very unhappy things he's bringing out that shouldn't be bringing out, should be left in dressing room, should be left internally in clubs. I'm sure there's players there who thought they could trust him even though he's out of the club, and probably thinking now, geez, if he brings another book out, or am I going to get something going on in this? Is he going to mention that this happened that time in the dressing room, or such and such happened at the training ground? I actually enjoyed it all this week, and I probably won't bring myself to read the book now, but no doubt with all the coverage he's getting, he's probably going to get the sales that he seems to be after. And as I said, it seems to be very headline based and tabloids based, probably just to boost sales for himself. But
it was good to see Rodgers stick up for enough, and that's what you wanted him, your manager, to stick up for your club.
Yeah, I thought Rodgers was class this week, to be fair. But I think, like Darren said, I was actually happy to see all this stuff come out of Ferguson, because it's kind of showed him for what he is. And he has a massive selfish streak. There's a huge will to be in the front headlines, to be out there, to be seen, to be talking, to be the front man. And that's probably something that's been built up over many years of being the head of Manchester United. And now that he's have to step back into it, like, this is a 71-year-old man. You think at this point in his life he'd want to just, step into the shadows and enjoy the success he's had. But no, he has to be out there in front. He has to be the vocal one, getting the centre of the attention and taking away from the club that he's built up. He's had great success at United, but there he is now abusing the players who brought him that success. Where's his loyalty? There is no loyalty there. He's absolutely nailed them to the cross. And then he has a go at young players like Jordan Henderson, which is outrageous. If anybody said that against a young United player when he was a manager, he would have went ballistic. Absolutely atomic bomb ballistic. And here we are having a go at him. And he thinks it's funny that people are having a go at him, So yeah, no, I'm glad to see it, because people are kind of seeing the real Alex Ferguson, the person for what he is. And United supporters will stand up and say the same. The real United supporters will say he's doing the club no favours as it is now. So look, he's only doing himself no favours. Let him keep at it.
I think the easiest way to look at it is mirror if it was us and it was one of our ex-managers. I don't think they have. I mean, Dalglish, Julia, Benitez, if they were to come out and have a go at other players or players from our own club, you can imagine the discussions today and just the way they'd be treated, like they'd be treated with contempt. So I presume the lads down the road are a bit confused this morning.
I don't have much to say in it, but I think it's definitely, it screams money grabbing all over it, because he's only out of job a wet day. There's no way a manager, what was it, June, July, he was out of job. There's no way a manager out of a job that soon should be writing a book and sitting in the director's box undermining their manager. But that's an issue for them. As I said, I'd agree with the lads. I mean, in reality, if you look at the overall picture, unfortunately, over his term, we didn't really have a one-on-one rivalry with him. Yet he dedicates a chapter of his book to us. He didn't do that to my knowledge. I don't know. Arsenal or Chelsea, or did he put Arsenal or Chelsea in the book? It just shows you how much they got, especially Rafa, how much Rafa got under his skin. And that interview, he's still going on about that. Yeah, it really seemed to get under his skin. And I think that's great, because Rafa was there for years. There was all the Premiership, Fleet Street, Hardy and all that. And other managers were just going along with Ferguson running up the referees in the Premier League and all that. And Rafa came in and was just having none of it and just put in fact. And he just put up. And if you look at it, the facts were indisputable. If you go back, if you look at that, now it might have been a bit staged and all that, but the facts were indisputable. But I love that from Rafa. He just came in and says, "I'm not having any more of this." And he was the lone. Nobody else. I was hoping other managers were coming back him up, but that's my bit on him anyway.
Yeah, and that's what was good about Rodgers this week, is that Rodgers actually stood up for his players, stood up for his club in the way that Rafa did, and that's why we loved Rafa so much. And fair play to Brendan for doing it. But the last word on this is, anything that says Man United is a good thing, so fair play to Alex Ferguson.